Nice to meet you. Okay, that's fairly easy. Welcome aboard. I'll see you next meeting nowhere else. All right.
Are you right here? Okay, I'm right here. So he did.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. We're going to start a minute or two early because we have some VIPs who need to be ducking out quickly, and we want to make sure to give them a moment to say hello and greet us. So thank you to everybody who's here online, and thank you to those who made it here in person. We appreciate that. So I am Michelle Case, and Diane Cooper Gould is right here, and we are honored to be leading SEPTA this year. And we have a really full program ahead of us, but we first want to start with introducing and handing over the mic to a few folks who have to be stepping out, who managed to squeeze us in for a minute or two. So we're going to start, where did she go? Oh, there you are, with Senator Jennifer Carroll Foy, and then we will have her hand off to Delegate Karen Keyes-Gamarra, and then hand that off to Fairhaven County School Board Member Kyle McDaniel. So, no further ado. Okay.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I am State Senator Jennifer Carroll Foy, and I represent parts of Prince William and Fairfax. I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank all of you for being here. To be at a PTA meeting means that you are giving up your time, you know, to be here, to get involved, to be effective, to be impactful. So I just want to thank you so much. And there's nowhere else I would rather be than with a whole bunch of angry parents, right? Fighting for the most vulnerable people in our Commonwealth. We see a lot of attacks right now on the 1%, whether they are children with disabilities, whether they are transgender individuals, whether they are being attacked because of their religion. And right now, it's going to take all of us to step up and fight for those who can't fight for themselves. And that's what it means to be in this room. That's what it means to be here. Because we know that when we give our kids the tools that they need, that they deserve, because everyone deserves a world-class education. Not only folks who are not neurodivergent or don't have autism or don't have some type of disability. Every child is worthy. Every child should be treated equally. And so it pains me, it hurts me to see what's happening on the federal level when they're trying to get rid of the Department of Education. They can't do it any other way because it's an act of Congress that implemented them, so it has to be an act of Congress to undo it. So they say, you know what we're gonna do? Fire everybody in the building. And the first people we're gonna get rid of are the people in special education. What does that say about us as a people? There's a saying, show me how you treat the least among you, and I'll show you who you are. And this is not who we are. And so it's incumbent on all of us to fight like we've never fought before for the people who need it and deserve it the most. And for a person who has multiple family members with IEPs, who have struggled with disabilities, then I can tell you that I'm ready for that fight. Because fairness and equality is my North Star. And so that is why I'm here. And I'm just so thankful. And I can tell you that I will be there in Richmond with amazing delegates like Karen to be able to do what needs to get done to protect all of you, protect your kids, and protect your family. Thank you.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be back in this room where I had a lot of meetings. But I have to say, I so much agree with my colleagues because the moment is now. This is one of those urgent moments that I think many years from now we'll be looking back at the pivotal actions we had to take. And it reminds me of times hundreds of decades, hundreds of years ago, where people intentionally prevented education for certain groups, where they decided how history would be told, how that, they wanted to make sure that honor was reserved for some and not for others. And so we're on the front lines right now, making sure that every child has the right to be respected and cared for and receive an appropriate education. And this, unfortunately, I'm going to show my partisanship right now. This administration does not appear to be concerned about that. And so we have to make them concerned. I will say that it is a great pleasure for me to know that I have partners such as the senator here, because we really don't take no for an answer. And I can also say that I work with folks who are directly involved in education, directly involved in our Health and Human Services Committee, and I have had personal conversations with them about how we are going to handle the shortfalls, the funding shortfalls, the way that things have been dismantled at the federal level. So I want you to know that there are a lot of folks thinking about how to take care of all of our students. Irrespective of what they need to be successful, we want to make sure that we provide those tools. I want to make sure you know that you can reach out to me. It's my name, which once you figure out how to spell it, this will be easy. It's Karen@KarenKeithGamara.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. Part of the reason I took some time tonight was to make sure that you understood that we want to hear from you. We want to make sure we understand what it is you need, so that we can make sure that the legislature is aware of that. So thank you for just giving me a few moments, and please know that we are standing with you, and the rest of that stuff we're hearing is, well, you know where to put it.
I just want to bring your attention, Senator Carson.
Thank you. I have to, countywide is great. I spend a lot of time in my car. My car and I are best friends, so I'm going to have to Herndon for a boundary meeting. But I also want to echo exactly what the Senator Delegate said. There's extraordinary times. When I entered his office in 2023, I said that I was about 3 words, which was protect public education. Boy, did I not know in that time that we would be the firewall standing between public education and what's going on right now. But that's the reality. So there's an article in Time Magazine that the superintendent shared with me this afternoon. The headline of the article was, "Can school boards save democracy?" And I kind of looked at it, I started reading the article, but school boards, local government, I think school boards in particular, it's one of the most difficult jobs in politics, but it's also, in my opinion, the most important job in politics. Because I get to see how much parents and community members care for their children, care for grandchildren, care for their family, and care for their community. And really, when the rubber meets the road, that's what matters, especially here in Fairfax County. We have a long, proud tradition of active citizens that care for their community, and nothing gives me more of a first-hand seat to that than coming to meetings like this and the boundary meeting I'm going to inherit. I know there's a lot of concern with what's going on, and from where I sit at the school board level, here's my promise to everybody in this room, to the community. We are holding the line as much as we can. We are actively making plans and we're working with putting one foot in front of the other every day. The people in this building in Gatehouse, we have a bad rap out there amongst certain folks. The people in this building are working 24/7. I'll make that very clear. The people in this building are working 24/7. I'm not even exaggerating. They're on call 24/7. They try to support the teachers in the other 198 buildings across the county to make sure that every child, regardless of zip code, regardless of economic status, regardless of anything, gets that free and appropriate public education. And the work that goes on around the clock is something that I'm proud of. I'm proud to represent every resident of Fairfax County in the school board. I'm proud to work with our staff, and I'm equally as proud of the people sitting in this room who come to the table, not just to complain, which everybody does, but they come to the table to say, how can I help? How can we get involved? How can we help you make things better for our kids? And that's the key, as I said at the beginning. Thank you for everything you do. And have a great night. And with that, off the toll road to Herndon. Thank you.
So we want to thank all three of you who spoke, and we know you have to leave. So if you need to boogie out, we thank you so much for coming. And we will get to all of our other elected officials and their representatives, including those online, a little bit later. But we also this is our kickoff event of the year. We want to introduce ourselves with SEPTA and who we are and what we do. For those of you who may not know or be less familiar with us. So first of all, SEPTA is a special education PTA. We are a nonpartisan organization. We welcome words from any and all folks, and we embrace building community, both at an institutional level across the county and beyond, as well as among our individual members. Because one of the things we do know that parenting students with disabilities is an incredibly isolating and lonely and difficult job sometimes. All kids can be. But there are additional challenges that come with our population. And one reason we have a PTA dedicated to special education is because within any school population, there are students with disabilities. However, we are not the majority of the students. And so sometimes the disability voice can be marginalized and not represented. So we're an organization that is specifically for students with disabilities, their families, as well as the educators that work with them. So we also do a lot of work, not just on behalf of families and students, but also our teachers and staff, which is critical about who we are. PTA is parents and teachers. We really value the teacher, but not just teachers, staff of all kinds. So we just do want to say we're really looking to build a robust community. And today it's really important for us, when we have an event like this, what we want to do is amplify the voice of our families and students with disabilities and what your needs are, and also help share that out to our legislators, so that they can understand on the ground what is happening in our families, in our lives, in education. And that is at all levels. So, okay, before I continue to go on any further with that, let's see what I can do. Okay. I think I can pass off to you, Michelle. Michelle's going to tell us a little bit about how tonight's going to work and the structure of the evening. We had a lot of different things going on.
Thanks. There have been a lot of moving parts, so thank you for your patience with us as we're shifting on the fly sometimes. Here's how things are going to work this evening. So we will introduce our elected officials and their designees who arrived. and joined us. And we're going to start off with statements from the rest of them who would care to do so. And then we're going to begin our discussion with an overview of some of the current issues that are impacting our students with disabilities. Then we'll open up the floor to questions. We did receive some questions from the registration, so we'll do our best to work those in as well. And we'll open the floor to allow our other attendees to make comments or statements as well. And our SEPTA board members and our officials are more than welcome to respond as much as they would like, or if they're more just going to be listening, that is fine. Many of our guests are here predominantly to be listening to everyone's concerns and taking that information back to their representative officials rather than responding to us tonight.
Okay, so the next part of the program after we have our listening session will be to take a very quick detour to do PTA business. But don't abandon us because there will be community building after that. So we will do a very brief detour with a couple things. We need to, our general membership needs to pass our vote on our budget, as well as our advocacy priorities for this year. So there's been a lot of work going into that, and we want to thank everybody for their time and effort. We're excited to share those. And then at the end, the very end, we will be taking an informal opportunity for people to connect with each other, with the VIP guests who are still here, and really have that community building piece. Because one thing that we've learned is Zoom is a wonderful tool for helping people, especially families with disabilities, access events that they might not otherwise be able to come to. But one thing that a lot of people have been missing is being in person and seeing each other's faces and getting to know each other. So we want to give you some time to do that as well. And then we also have a hard stop at 9 p.m. So a little bit before 9, we're going to close things down and have to wrap up and clean up and head out.
So before we start our introductions, we want to remind you, this is your little PSA right now. It's a great day to become a paid member of SEPTA. So we open our events up to the public for free, but your dues directly fund our programming, and our largest expenditures are our staff mini grants. We've been granting $4,000 to $5,000 annually to staff to develop programs for our students. And we also have an annual awards ceremony where we honored last year roughly 300 staff and community members. So to join SEPTA, go to our givebacks, fcsepta.giveback.com/shop, and that will be, we'll get it up on Zoom as well. And we do have some laptops here, I think, where you can also sign up on the spot if you're here in person. And we have a goal of 300 members by October 30th. And as of today, Jennifer, do you know how many we have?
As of 4 o'clock, we have 136.
136. All right, so we're almost halfway. Awesome. And then we have another 10 who signed up tonight. Thank you very much to those of you who signed up tonight. So we're just about halfway to our goal. So for those of you online, please sign up and join us as well. So now we're going to go on and just do quick introductions of our board and our invited guests.
All right, so we do have many SEPTA board members here tonight. First of all, I am Lauren Misaki. I am one of the vice presidents here. And in addition to Michelle and Diane, we have our secretary, Emily Satchdev.
A lot of them are online tonight.
Yes, many are online as well. Our treasurer, Lavanya Kula. Our committee chairs include advocacy, Amanda Campbell, awards, Mandy Walters, communications, Allie Talbot, educator liaison, Amy Lacrosse, events, Kalila Jones, fundraising, Lanisha Brown and Bridget Garrity, membership, Jen Denton, military families, April Enos, outreach, Jenna Smith, reflection, Stephanie Smith and Debbie Taub, both of whom are here tonight. Underserved and 2E subcommittee, Lily Sada. Volunteers, Sherry Belkowitz, and our ACSD liaison is Dina Sonneson. And we have many VIP guests in attendance tonight, and I'm going to turn it back over to our
Thank you. All right, so we are super excited. Some of them may have had to bug out, but we are going to go ahead and give you the full list of our VIPs who are either attending in person or online today, or said they would be here. We hope they're here. Federal government, from the federal government, we have the outreach representative to Senator Mark Warren, Jackie sorry, Marmal. Oh my God. Okay, the regional director to Senator Chen Kane would be Rachel Ryback. Where's Rachel? Welcome, Rachel. And Senator District 8 Representative James Wilkinshaw, Fatma Malik. Thank you. From the state government, we have a thank you for Jennifer Carroll Foy, who was here a few minutes ago, Delegate Karen Keyes Gamara, as well as we want to say hello to Senator Stella Pekarsky, who is on Zoom. Legislative aid for Delegate Dan Helmer, Melanie Martin. Hello. Oh, yay. How do we pronounce your last name? Martin. Martin, okay, got it right. Director of Community Outreach for Delegate Holly Seaboard and a longtime SEPTA member, Beth Akes. And the legislative aid for Delegate Vivian Watt. Oh, Erin had to leave. It was Erin Yohai.
And then also from our local government, I believe on Zoom, we have Joanna Fitzpatrick, who is staff for Fairfax County Supervisor Dahlia Palchik. We had from the school board, Kyle McDaniel. We are expecting Ryan McElveen, who's also a school board member, but he had to drive his daughter to an evening activity first. And then we also have with us Jacob Har, who is staff for Melanie Marin from our school board in the back. Staff for Rachna Sizemore Heiser from our school board, with Gilly Kuda. Did I get that right? Okay, thank you. And we are also delighted to welcome Yvonne Johnson, who is the president of National PTA and happened to be in town and we were able to get her to come. So thank you very much. Did we miss anybody? I hope not. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We also want to remind everybody that this is a public event, and so it's being recorded and it'll be posted on our YouTube channel. So just to keep that in mind if you're making personal comments about anything regarding your family or your own personal information. So would some of our invited guests like to make any comments? And we know that some of you are just listening and that is totally fine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yvonne Johnson, and I'm so happy to be here this evening. When Amanda sent me an email and said that she was having this meeting, it was very timely because I was going to be in Virginia. I live in Delaware, and I'm here for an event tomorrow. So I just really want to say that I think it was the remarks of the woman who was sitting over here. Okay. So what's happening to our federal government, what's happening at the Department of Education is devastating. It's been devastating, just with the prediction of the elimination of the Department of Education, which means a cut to IDEA, Title I, Office of Civil Rights. There are so many problems with not having it. We have a Department of Education for a particular reason, to have federal oversight. So, and honestly, even with federal oversight, we all know that maybe some services are still not provided. But without their oversight, it makes it much more problematic. It affects all students with disabilities. It doesn't matter if they're complex and intense or they're, just a basic spec ed student. It's affecting all of them. And at PTA, we have had very strong positions against the elimination of the Department of Education. Today, we came out with a statement and Take Action Alert, and I encourage all of you go to pta.org and take action. It is a task. How many of you are signed up for Take Action? Well, let's start with that. So if you're not signed up for Take Action, you should be, because the more voices that the more voices that elected officials hear from, the more powerful it is. And I always say, never underestimate the power of the parent's voice, because it is powerful. But collectively, we can make the biggest difference. We're going on the 50th anniversary of IDEA. In a million years, do we think we would be here? Absolutely not. And on November 20th, we're having it's going to be on YouTube. We're having a special panel discussion on the impending cuts, and there'll be different interested parties with our partners, with all coalitions, and obviously PTA members, speaking about IDEA and the 50th anniversary, what it's done. We have parents that have been speaking about how it's affected them and what these impending cuts will be. It is devastating to think that anybody would lose their job, but for them too, I believe it was first a half cut, now everybody's cut. So I just want you to know that PTA is very, very serious about this. We do not support this. But we've also been around 128 years. Did you know that? 128 years of advocating. We've worked with 23 administrations. And we will work with every administration because in order to make change, we have to work together. And so I just want to thank you for having me here today and empower all of you because every single voice counts. It doesn't matter. Make sure you vote in elections and make sure you use your voice and contact your members, whether it's your congressmen, your senators. I mean, you're very lucky. Both your senators, I believe, are co-signers on IDEA. And PTA has been fighting for IDEA forever, and not just to sustain what is allocated, but to increase funding. That has been an ask of ours for as long as I can remember. And this is not anything that we're going to push back from. We are in this together. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
I'm here as the Director of Community Outreach for Delegate Holly Siegel. And she is a mom. She is the former classroom teacher and the leader of a business that was focused on STEM education. And if you go to her website, you will see that education is all over it. She is a strong supporter. And she asked me to be here tonight. I am a previous member of SEPTA. And I was a PTA president, 9. Been on the board for 20 years in a row. So my kids have all left now, but I've chosen to stay involved as much as possible with education. And I also was recently elected to the board of directors for Special Olympics Virginia. So these are my people and this is where I am. So thank you.
And I believe that our other staffers, school board members are listening tonight. Is that correct? Okay, yes. But we do want to introduce Stella, Senator Stella Pekarsky, and let her say hello to us as well.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Sorry if I'm speaking over you. There's
Wait,
sometimes there's a little delay.
Wait, Stella.
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
Let's see if it works.
That works.
Let's try that. Try speaking.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Not yet.
Better?
Not yet.
Not
Sorry.
yet.
We're working on it.
Is it up as far as it goes? Try again, Stella.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. Better? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Stella Pekarsky. I represent the 36th District in the Virginia State Senate, which is Western Fairfax County. I'm happy to be with you tonight. I'm sorry I'm not in person. I had to drive my daughter down to Charlottesville to go back to school and did not have enough time to actually get there. So glad I can pop in and say hello. As somebody who was at the very first SEPTA meeting, it's kind of cool to see where this group is today and the work you've all done and continue to do. And holy moly, like others have said, there has never been a more important time to have a group of parents who are motivated to make sure that their kids get anything and everything they deserve and just the same opportunities as every other child. And I will say from a very personal point of view, you know, there is a lot of partisanship in politics today, but you know, a lot of work in special education and disability work has oftentimes been a place where you can find people from every side of the aisle coming together to really help kids. So to see what is happening at the Department of Ed right now and the, you know, the news about the department that oversees special education is really it's really a gut punch, and it's scary for those of us who have children and young adults who require many services and supports. And I'm definitely feeling as if there are people right now making really big decisions that do not see my child as an equal or worthy of having the same opportunities that all other children do. So, I can't do anything about that, but I sure as heck can do stuff on the state level, and that's what I try to do. I am also the chair of the Autism Council, so if you have experiences you want to share, issues, please come and share that with us either through public testimony or through written comments. We've got a really great meeting coming up in next week, actually, I believe, with some great speakers about some exciting programs like the Blue Envelope program that the DMV has started. So if you want to hear more about that, we're going to have actually the neurodivergency specialist from FCPS also come down and talk to us about what is happening in Fairfax, because I think we are in a lot of ways a model for other places. So they're going to come down and tell us what they see and what they're doing. And we're just going to keep fighting and working towards making sure that we help those who need the most help, just to be their best selves and really part of our society and part of our communities. And I thank you all for your work, and keep advocating. Like was said, I mean, it's true. The more voices you hear, don't underestimate parents who are motivated to do best for their kids. It works. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Pekarsky. I'm proud to say I knew you when I sat next to you at the first PTA meeting. And
you did.
Okay, was there anyone else who had anything to say that, or mostly just listening? Okay, great. Then we are going to move on to what's going to happen next. We want to just give a little bit of an overview because there's some really time-sensitive and topical things that have just come down in the news about that are affecting our students in education and education in general. We have also created a list of suggested topics that may be of interest to you to speak about if you are here in the audience and you wanted to say something and be heard by our local legislators and their staff. So those lists are in the back. If you would like to pick one up, if you haven't done so already, you can peruse that and see if there's something that speaks to you that you might want to share. I also personally want to really give a huge shout out to Michelle Case for her hard work on this event. It hasn't been easy because there's been so much happening in the news, and there's been a lot of change on our board too. So thank you, Michelle. I'm just going to start by talking a little bit about what's been happening. We've been referring to staff at the Office of Special Education, actually Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, being almost completely gutted on Friday afternoon. So that happened with really no warning at all, and it happened Friday afternoon. So the news was trickling in, and we were having panicked phone calls and texts coming in over the weekend. It is something that is alarming, and everyone here should be alarmed, frankly. It's also coming after a massive reduction of force at the Department of Education earlier this spring, which we were also all very devastated about. It's really important that we understand what these people do. They ensure the federal oversight and allocation of funding across the country for special education. They also weigh in to ensure that IDEA is being implemented in the state. So if you have a situation within your state where there are some systemic issues, you could formally have gone to OSER staff and gotten help. But if they're not there, there's no one to turn to. So this is a federal law. without federal oversight at this point. And that puts our students in an extremely precarious position. And so without further ado, I think I can pass this on to Michelle. And
So another issue that you may have been hearing about in the news recently is that the federal government froze $167 million that was coming to Fairfax County Schools. It was already previously congressionally allocated to FCPS. And those funds came under categories such as IDEA, Title I, Title IX, and more. The withheld federal funding supports things like food and nutrition services for students with disabilities, students from low-income families, and programs that promote teacher development and student achievement. So for example, out of that 167 million, we had 61 million that was frozen from food and nutrition services, 41 million that was frozen from special education, and 65 million from low-income and English language learners and all of the teacher training, career and technical ed, and adult and community education programming. So this was not just a drop in the bucket, and it's clear that these funding freezes are going to disproportionately impact our students with disabilities, low-income students, and multilingual learners.
And I should have made it clear and explained that IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This is actually this year the 50th anniversary of this act, ensuring that students with disabilities have a right to a free, appropriate public education. And boy, what a way to celebrate. Sarcasm. Let's see here. Oh shoot, where am I? Okay. The other thing that I wanted to cover on tonight was that the recently passed federal spending bill has massive cuts to Medicaid, as I'm sure many of us are aware. This includes not just health insurance, because that's the thing people mostly talk about, health insurance for under-resourced people. It also affects, Medicaid funding affects a wide range of programming for people with disabilities. It reimburses school systems for related services that students may require to have a free appropriate public education. It funds waiver services for people with disabilities. And that can include everything from transportation to housing to employment, training, and support. And I mean, just it goes across the board. There's just so many things that money needs. The other is used for. The other thing that we all hear about is it can create healthcare deserts. So if we don't have Medicaid funding, then healthcare facilities have to shut down. And as we know, people with disabilities tend to have a lot of additional healthcare needs. And we have people across the states and the country that will not be able to get the healthcare that they need to live a productive life. So
we can go on and on, unfortunately, and on with lists of concerns. We put some of them on the slideshow that was rolling while we were starting, and there was a handout that hopefully we were able to get on Zoom for our folks there as a PDF. If not, we will get it out to you afterwards. But we're not going to read you the whole list tonight. Also, I want to say hello to Ryan McElveen, our Fairfax County School Board member, who did make it. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And so now some of our SEPTA board members are going to start us off with some brief personal comments, essentially some personal testimonies. And if you have questions or concerns that you want to share, we will next have opportunity for that. If you would prefer to share information anonymously, then we have some 3x5 cards. You're welcome to jot things down. And I'm looking at our chat's not showing up here, right? Okay, so if there's someone who has something anonymous who's on Zoom, just please note that in the chat, and then we can try to read that aloud as well. So Diane, why don't you start?
Absolutely. And one reason we decided to do sort of this sample testimony from some board members is many of us have done a lot of testimony. So one thing we're encouraging you all to do is go speak at school board meetings, go speak and write letters and send emails to your representatives, and make sure you get your voice out there. Typically, we're looking at like 2 to 3 minutes in which to speak, in which you want to get some information out quickly. And sometimes that can be really difficult. And I didn't time this, so don't time me. What I want to speak about tonight is actually more general. It's sort of a general advocacy issue, and it's going to discuss more specifically how critical federal oversight is and the staff of the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, and how important they are to our parents and schools. I don't know how many of you online and here tonight know the sad fact that between 2010 and July 2021, so that's 11 years, only 1.5% of parents who initiated a due process hearing in the Commonwealth of Virginia received a favorable ruling. So that means 98.5 did not. So the state is ruling disproportionately against families. The only place to go next is the federal government. And now that is no longer available to us. So that is only 13 out of 847 cases in that 11-year time frame. It's far, far less than the majority of the proportion of cases in the majority of states across the United States. It may surprise some of you to know that in the Northern Virginia districts, we have even less of a proportion of favorable outcomes for families. It is less than 1% in Northern Virginia. So obviously this disproportionality speaks to the fact that federal oversight is absolutely required if we're to ensure that our most vulnerable students, those with disabilities, are receiving a free, appropriate public education in the state of Virginia alone. Another factoid for you is, did you know that every single year since 2019, the federal government has found that the Virginia Department of Education has failed to resolve complaints filed by special education families? And further, that Virginia did not have reasonably designed procedures and practices to ensure a timely resolution process for those complaints. As of December 2024, OSEP did finally state that Virginia had resolved all of the ongoing required actions and that case is now closed, but that was 6 consecutive years that the federal government said Virginia is not meeting its requirements to students with disabilities. So now that all of our OSER staff is gone, who do Virginia families go to? And what do we do when our children are being failed? And how do we convince our state Department of Education to continue to do the right thing, or to start doing the right thing, and protect students with disabilities and their families? So that is a message for all of you, hopefully, to take back to your officials. At this point, the state is our last line of defense, and the state is already failing many, many, many of our children.
We're going to pass to Amanda Campbell, our advocacy chairperson.
Michelle and Diane. Some of you may have heard this before, but we have elected officials in the room who haven't. It's a little bit of mix of the fact piece and the personal piece. So from the moment my daughter entered Childfind at age 3, we struggled after struggle to get her appropriate services. I want to be clear up front, the staff on the ground in her classroom have largely been wonderful. The lack of support we've experienced stems from systemic underfunding of not just special education, but education in general, and systemic failures in the provision of appropriate staffing, resources, and training to support the staff who work with her. As a non-speaking 3-year-old, my daughter was denied a speech evaluation, as we were told preschool was a language-rich environment. She was not given an AAC device until she was 4 years old, and when she was given the device by the district, she was limited to 4 words: open, more, all done, and yes. Can you imagine limiting a typical 4-year-old to 4 words? While Virginia finally has a law in place to require a training in AAC modeling before an AAC user enters the classroom, the burden now falls to the enforcement of that. I continue to hear from families this year whose AAC users are denied speech evaluations, who do not feel their teams are adequately trained to support their child. VDOE has a poor history of ensuring fidelity to laws and compliance with IDEA, and now the Federal Office of Special Education Programs and Office for Civil Rights has been decimated. Who will hold VDOE accountable for IDEA compliance moving forward? On top of these concerns, the cuts to Medicaid are a devastating blow to families like mine that are on Medicaid waivers. I've already heard from some families with 30+ hours of attendant hours, just like us, having their annual renewal process and been denied all attendant hours. It took us over 10 years to get on Medicaid, and it required a thorough and thoroughly depressing set of paperwork and interviews requiring that I share nothing but her deepest challenges. We have monthly check-in with our service facilitation provider to prove that she is still deeply disabled, despite her condition being genetic and lifelong. The idea that there is significant fraud, waste, and abuse is more than a bit laughable to those of us drowning in constant paperwork and appointments. Our families will always be a comparatively small minority voice. We need you, our elected officials, to speak up loudly for our students. Let's start with restoring staff to OSEP. Thank you.
Amanda. I also wanted to share that I never thought we'd be where we are today. All three of my kids and I are twice exceptional, so we're all gifted and have disabilities. My youngest graduated from FCPS this past June, and is a very bright child, and she was not diagnosed dyslexic and autistic until they were in high school, where they dealt with massive autistic burnout and was on partial homebound every year of high school. There were no small supportive classes available that also offered the academic rigor that she needed, and teachers constantly underestimated her abilities, undermined her autonomy, and most definitely under-implemented her IEPs. So freezes and cuts to federal funding could really impact the clearly needed teacher training and all of the supports, accommodations, and personnel who are required to help kids like mine just get through each day at school. At one point, I considered filing an OCR complaint with the Department of Education because I knew that was the ultimate safety net if all else failed. And I never thought that my federal government would decimate offices like OCR and OSEP, whose responsibilities are the oversight of special education civil rights and the administration of IDEA funding. I am dismayed and devastated that we have come to this point as a country, and I worry that funding cuts will impact the Medicaid waiver services needed to support my daughter's transition to adulthood, higher ed, career planning, transportation, housing needs, and healthcare, and more. And I've definitely never dreamed that I would actually be nervous about applying for Medicaid because of all the negative attention about autism that's coming from our government officials. Especially as a Jewish family, we know what can happen when a government hyper-focuses on those who are in the minority. When my daughter was on homebound, I taught her her US history and her US government classes, and nearly every lesson came back to the theme of we the people. We elect you to speak for us and represent our needs. So thank you for listening tonight. We need you to say no more and to protect our rights and save our schools and our futures. So now what we would like to do is open up to our attendees. And we're going to try really hard to limit to 2 minutes, and I do my best to time mine to 2 minutes so that we can make sure that there's time for everybody who wants to speak. So if you're on Zoom and you want to speak, then use the good old raise your hand feature. We all know how to do this now, I hope. And we'll do our best to make sure that we alternate all of you in this evening. And we also do have questions as well that were submitted ahead of time. So let's see if we have anybody who feels like being our brave starter. This is our part of our program that's unscripted and we don't know what's going to happen next. We do have more listeners in the room, I know, than as many people who are here speaking. So, do you have any hands up? We're going to start with some questions then.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh.
Do we have hand? If you want to say something in the chat, please raise your hand. We've Dina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, let me move my hand down. Can you hear me okay?
Can everybody hear her?
So I just wanted to build on a little bit of what Amanda said. My question is, I think that a lot of the impacts to special education have been in the news and people have commented on that. I have a child with severe disabilities, severe medical needs. He is in a public day school here in Fairfax County. And the service cuts that they're talking about to education, compounded with the service cuts to potential cuts to Medicaid, really, really impact our communities significantly, because my son requires constant 24-hour one-to-one care, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never left alone, ever, never, never, never. So we qualified for some waiver services. We do have insurance besides Medicaid. We have pieced together care. But I'm concerned that some of the impacts that we're talking disproportionately will really impact our community. And it's not just federal, because Medicaid is state administered. And it has not been great and doling out all the funds and waivers before this. So the threat of an impact to Medicaid and no real proactive solutions at the state level for what are we going to do to kind of mitigate that impact is concerning. So I'm not really sure who I'm addressing this to, but if any one of the state representatives could talk about some possible things that they would be doing to look at, particularly the Medicaid issues at the state level, that would be great.
So Dina, here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is that we got your questions. Stella, I don't know, I'm gonna put you on the spot and see if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, I can answer.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
I wish I could say that you don't have reason to be worried, Dina, but the reality is we've been worried about this and talking about this at the state level for the past year, just in anticipation of some of the things that could be coming down the pike. We're still, you know, of course, waiting to see what exactly those impacts are. The state cannot, I mean, you know, I mean, we are not the federal government. We cannot emulate what the federal government does, but this is a very big priority for us at the state level. It is going to be something that I know is going to be discussed heavily when we go to our annual retreat in November, where we talk about the financial outlook for next year. And we're going to get a much more detailed briefing around, you know, things we could do to kind of close the gaps, what that would cost, best ways for us to try and, you know, pick up the pieces. I guess I don't know that there's any better way to say it, but please know, while we don't have the answers right now, nobody does. It has been a topic that we have discussed in great detail since last year in anticipation, and staff have been looking at possible solutions. And I am certain that we're going to be seeing something happening in the coming session that is going to be starting in January. I just don't know what that something is yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone else who wanted to ask a question or make a statement? If not, I can read from one of our previous meetings. Yeah. Instead, he can bring the mic around the studio. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lina Dada. I'm a special education advocate, but first and foremost, I'm a parent who turned up to Robinson High School one time to a second meeting. And they told me that I had community here that was beyond the PTA in my school, and I sincerely appreciate that. 36 years, especially with this thing. I don't have a question, I just have a statement. Because of that meeting, I became special education advocate, special education liaison for my school, and created a community and created space hopefully that people who felt alone, felt like their voices weren't being heard, that their students' needs were being dismissed or overlooked. They had someone to turn to, and then I would turn around and say, we're going to start that process. So just wanted to thank for pushing me into that role. I've been advocating for my daughter for so many years. I'm now an active special education advocate for a local law firm. I help IEP parents and 504 parents ensure that their voice and their input is listened to, and also that the school team's voices are also listened to. There's a strong mama bear or papa bear. There's a school team here. Recently, school teams have agreed, Fairfax County and across Virginia, that school teams need to support this stuff. Everybody agrees, and this is going to be identified as PCR concerns, budget concerns shouldn't really affect whether that child has access to screening for kids. They dance around the issue and it's just because of budget. So what does that lead us with? We have PCR complaints. We know are driving most complaints to state complaints, and I'm sure the DOE is a huge spike in that. What I have seen personally in my clients is that the DOE, the state complaints, they don't all the time, which was what Diane was speaking about when it comes to the win rate. The hearings, but also just for mediation for state complaints in general. In general, I just wanted to share that this is section heartbreaking right now. And for those folks who are on the call or watch this video later, you know, here in Fairfax Vesta and we have folks who understand it.
I'll go ahead while you guys are thinking about things to say. I'm gonna share one of the questions we had that was sent in ahead of time that could be helpful. One of the questions was, how can families' lived experiences with underfunded and inconsistent services help drive policy change in a state that has historically underinvested in its most vulnerable learners? I think that's an excellent question, and I think that's part of what we're trying to do tonight. And I think one thing that that we hear all the time, who've been involved with advocacy for many years at this point, is one of the most important advocacy tools we have is personal stories. I can sit here and read out my statistics, and while they can be alarming and give you some information, think about what really moved you tonight. And that was the stories that were shared by families about their actual lived experience. So it's important to have both. It's important to have those facts, but what really allows people to hear it are the stories of the lived experience. And I think when you are advocating to a school board, or you're advocating to a legislator or one of their aides, or you're writing a letter, think about that. Think about how to personalize the message and how it directly affects you. And I think that is hugely helpful.
To speak to that too, I just want to uplift a couple of upcoming opportunities. Fairfax County Council PTA is working to put together an advocacy workshop on November 10th to help walk through the process of how you create that. Like, how do you create the story, knowing the requirements of where you are, like 2 minutes for the school board, 3 minutes for the board of supervisors, etc., like those kinds of things, the technical details, but also trying to help with identifying, getting to the heart of your story to make an impact. So it's November 10th, 6:30?
It's, yeah, 6:30 virtual.
6:30 virtual, November 10th. FCCPTA is also having an advocacy day on November 15th at 10:30 in the morning here.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock here. 10 o'clock here, November 15th. And we will have local legislators here to listen to you. Talk about the budget, talk about all the things upcoming. But in addition to that, annually Virginia PTA has Capitol Day in January, where all PTA members are invited to come down to the Capitol. Virginia PTA and the local councils arrange meetings with your specific legislators, so that you are in meetings with the people whom you are constituent for. And you will have experience in that room with you. You've never done it before. They will make sure somebody experienced it with you to help lead. It is a very easy way to get into the process of speaking and sharing your stories. That is January 23rd this year. And we will also be doing a Believe in Advocacy workshop in January to prepare for that, to prepare all of us for that. So keep an eye out for that. And then in March, we have National PTA's Legislative Conference that is in person here in Alexandria. We are very lucky to be so very close to the Capitol, which provides us these opportunities in a much more accessible way than much of the nation. So I will be there. I am also a member of the National PTA Committee, so I will be there for that work, and I would really love to have some other people join me.
I just wanted to drop another quick word here. We talk a lot about who do we talk to as special ed families. Do we talk to, okay, yes, we talk to the school board, and we talk to our state representatives, and we talk to our national, we keep forgetting to speak to our board of supervisors. Our board of supervisors hold the purse strings, and yet we consistently sort of let them off the hook. And so I think it's really important. None of these jobs are easy. So I think as we're advocating with our officials and their offices, we have to understand it can be terrifying if you've never done it before, but understand that they are just people like you. And most of them got into those positions because they came to a PTA meeting, or their kid had a problem, or they had a special interest in something. And so they wanted to make a change. So they often started kind of where the rest of us are. And so instead of thinking of it as us versus them, I think if we look at creative and collaborative problem solving and sharing the story and what do I do? And being willing to do some of that ourselves as much as we can. We're all overwhelmed. So I want to encourage you to talk to the Board of Supervisors, one, and then that second point of remember to catch more flies with honey than with vinegar sometimes, and recognize that we are all people and that none of these people make a lot of money. They are doing this because they want to enact change and make our community a better place. And I just think it's good to start off from that point of view.
And while you're making your way up, I'm just going to share a quick anecdote for you too. I actually just stepped away, and I have a message for everybody from my daughter who is here tonight, who is unable to use the microphone because she's too upset right now. And what she said is that hearing these stories makes her think, and I have permission to share this, but hearing these stories makes her think about all of the challenges that she had in high school, and I'm censoring her language. And that what's really upsetting is thinking about all the kids who are out there who don't have family members who know what I know or what some of our other SEPTA leaders know. And so I just reminded her that that's why all these people are here tonight, and that's why we have 30 some people on, and we're going to be recording, is because there are people who want to learn about their rights and want to be using their voice and taking action. So this impacts our kids, and that's words from our students.
Okay.
Here, we'll give you another one.
We're flexible, it's special ed.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Jacob Parr. I'm the staff aide to Melanie Marion on the school board, and wanted to share the important news about how schools are funded and where we need to go from here. Because for those of you who do not know, Fairfax County Public Schools receives 70% of its funds from an annual county transfer, right? And then it only receives like a small portion from the state and an even smaller portion from the federal government. Now, how does that compare to another state? I'm from California. In California school divisions, those school districts have a taxing authority, but many receive in upwards of 80 to 90% of their funds from the state, right? So why in Virginia have we decided that 5.75% is enough income tax for the whole damn state, where somebody on minimum wage pays the same rate as a millionaire, right? So I say that because the largest line item in both the county and the state budget is public education. So they are doing the best that they can with the funds we have, right? So if we, in other words, the pie is small. If we take from one pie, part of the pie, they'll take from something like public safety or social services. So this is to say that 5.7% is not going to be enough to get us where we need to be to fund these programs. So the word income tax is some sort of dirty word in politics, but we have to confront that as a society. Are we willing to pay that? California is 12%. It didn't break their economy. It's doing just fine, right? But here somehow people have convinced themselves that 5.75 is too much and we need to reduce that, right? So just the question is, like, does the General Assembly see that on the horizon? I know we're in an election, so they probably won't say the word tax, but come next session, how are we going to do it? Because wealthy people got a big tax cut in this big bill, and now they've got plenty of money. So do we keep buying into that? I think it's worthwhile. I think we could, those of us who are well off could pay a bit more, right? But that is eventually going to be the question, because if we don't grow that pie, we're just gonna be fighting in this scarcity crab in a bucket mentality. So I will say income tax, progressive taxation, it's a conversation that I think we need to have. Talk to Melanie a lot. We believe public schools are worth funding. We understand how hard it is at the county. Still talk to them, hold them accountable. But the General Assembly has the power to tax. Who here knows what Dillon's rule is? Okay, the state limits the county's ability to raise revenue. They can't raise sales tax. They can't do jack to solve the problem because Virginia has a damn rattlesnake that needs to crush. So that's really the conversation that we need is if come next session, we do need to push for these things because the county just doesn't have the power to raise the funds. So that's where I'll say put the majority of effort because the state does need to step up and do more.
Okay, I heard my name, kind of. Can I say something to that? Okay, so I don't know how many of you all know my background, but I came from local government because I was mad about this exact issue and the fact that we've been saying for years and years that we have at the state level underfunded public education. And finally a JLARC study came out that said, yeah, you people were right. We're underfunding public education. And I will say, I am really proud of the fact that in the last 2 years, we have put record amounts of funding for our public schools. Real funding that has made a real difference. It has not closed every gap. Jacob is right. In order for us to close these gaps, we need structural change to our taxation. I don't think it's a dirty word. I'm very supportive of a millionaire's tax. I actually think many of our families already pay way too much out of their weekly check. You know, I have many constituents who are here in Fairfax County cannot see another raise in their property taxes, you know, in addition to the fact that insurance is going up, inflation, food, healthcare. It is time, it's past time to have a more equitable taxation structure. And there has been this conversation at the state level. There are legislators who are working on this very issue on our finance committees. And I am hopeful that as we have a change in administration, we are going to see more of an appetite and a desire to partner in really bringing Virginia up to par, and making sure that anybody who reaps the rewards of doing business here, of, you know, living here and that they pay into our communities in a fair way. So you're right. Hopefully we'll see some really great change coming soon.
Thank you very much. I think we have one more person in here who's going to add a comment, and then we will have to transition to our business. Don't disappear on us. We need you. Seriously, you all on Zoom, stay with us, please.
Thank you. Kind of a follow-up question to that. Oh, sorry. I'm Jen McCary, principal, parent, and staff member, teacher for Fairfax County Public Schools. So thank you all very much. I'm a pre-K teacher, and we're in the Head Start world of pre-K that falls under Fairfax County. And so, again, things that are happening right now are hitting home in a lot of different ways. Also a parent of a child who receives some services in the county. But my follow-up question is this whole situation with the taxing and the Board of Supervisors and the money that, you know, we pay goes to Virginia. We get a portion of it back, a portion of that, you know, then the Board of Supervisors have to decide what portion comes to us. Is there somewhere talking points so that we, as the, you know, citizens of the county, know what are the things that we need to be bringing to people's attention? What are those, you know, I don't know offhand
the companies that come to Fairfax County, what are they paying in taxes that could be benefiting our school system? What are the personal stories that we might need to tap into to be able to share, with not just the Board of Supervisors, but I'm also probably thinking at the state level, because the Board of Supervisors is also going to have to advocate to the state that, we got to make this flow differently than it has been in the past. And so if there is a way to access some things that can be then used to help advocate, I know as a parent and as a staff member, I would love to see that.
You guys want to respond real quick? What are your priorities?
Yeah, no, that is a wonderful question. Thank you. And I'll just say, from our point of view, we have been talking, the local Northern Virginia districts and the councils have been talking about what can we do proactively. So we are actually been having conversations. We had one yesterday about what can we do and what can we do to spread this message, not just with our individual schools and school systems, but broadly across Virginia. So that is something that we are actively working on. And I think that there are also other organizations in the area that may have their own talking points. So what would be smart for us to do and what we hope to do is to build some coalitions and then get out mass messaging. So we have done that before on various issues. So we will be doing it again. So keep your eye out for it. We will always post in our SEPTA group, on our SEPTA Facebook page, and on our website. Amanda is our Brilliant Advocacy Chair this year, and she will be working her tush off. She has been working night and day on letters and resolutions and priorities. So keep your eye out. Yeah. Well, and since I mentioned that SEC PTA event that's going to happen in November, that is intended, I believe, Debbie, to talk specifically about the budget. So I will take that feedback to the group of us that are working to put together materials for that event as well. So thank you.
And also remember that you have power as an individual. Write letters to whatever newspaper you might read. Post things on social media, call all of the offices of these wonderful folks who are here today and let them know. And on that note too, I did just want to mention, I don't think we did initially, we invited all of our Fairfax County legislators from the federal government all the way state, Board of Supervisors, and school board members. So just so you all know that the invitation was extended to all of those people.
I'm just going to add on to the call your legislators. I literally have Senator Kaine and Senator Warner's phone number saved in my phone because when you're stuck in traffic on the Beltway, it's really easy to say, "Hey Siri, call Senator Warner's office," and wait on hold. So, just putting that out there.
All right, we.
Yeah, so just so you know, the main place you'll find this information about educational funding is the JLARC report, right? Now it's a roughly 80+ page document, but Melanie, Marion, and I have worked on some talking points that we can share to you to digest it. Really, clearly, in advocacy, you need a clear ask. Well, what do we want? There's a list of reforms. So it's like a menu of options where you can say from the most ambitious to the least ambitious, and you ask legislators to include that. So one part is that you need the funding formulas to change, right? So that means that what the state is on the hook for to fund for public education, but there's another part to that, which is your annual budget, right? That Stella's office could talk a lot more to that, but the budget has what's called budget amendments. And that's where the lawmakers put into place the actual money. So you can have JLARC recommendations adopted. That doesn't mean that money is necessarily tied to it. But I'll make a note to send the data that we have. A lot of people have it already floated in there. But when you go and talk to lawmakers on any side of the aisle, you need a clear ask right off the bat. Why do you need it? And then the data to support it. There's a way to do it. So hey, I joined SEPTA today. I have a special ed kid too. So, we'll help the best that we can. So thanks for doing what you do.
And just to add to that, I will post the JLARC study that he's referring to. I will share that on our website. There was also a JLARC study in 2020 talking specifically to how the state is not meeting the special education needs. So I will also post that.
Also, take action alert. That goes directly, you don't even have to do anything. Once you sign up for it, through National PA, it will automatically know who's your representative, who your senators are, and they'll send the messages for you. And I'm gonna share you the one with you that we just did today on this.
We
So
will share it
you
on our
can
social
share it,
media.
Oh, good.
The campaign.
Virginia PTA announced at their webinar, what, about 2 weeks ago or so, that they are doing an advocacy campaign where they're encouraging us to call our senators and legislators, but then also to fill out a form to let Virginia PTA know who has been contacted about what and when, so that they can kind of keep track of how much like traffic this advocacy is getting. So I will share that on our social media as well.
Just a couple more quick points, and then we do have to segue into business. I do want to encourage you. So one thing to understand is that when we get to legislative session in Virginia, it's too late. A lot of decisions have already been made. So the advocacy starts now, really, for things that we're going to be seeing in January. But not only that, we got to think about planting seeds. Very little happens immediately. Well, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. So you get a ton of flurry of things happening, and then you get nothing for a long time. And it's really about the consistency of messaging and the consistency of action. And so, I can take my own advice here too, because, we all have lives to live as well. But I will tell you that something that has really helped me is that if some of us have ADHD, we might forget to do things on our own. If you have a little group of friends, either it's other parents or colleagues, if you have a little text group, I started doing this with some of my friends, where you just do one piece of action a day and they're your accountability partners, it can really help increase your motivation to do those things. And it's kind of like a fun social thing you do with each other, rather than feeling like this massive burden that you've got to make specific change on your own and there's so many things against you. So I think that's a really fun idea. And so it's just like get a couple friends together and you just have a text chain. That's really helpful. Go ahead.
Also, just to let you know that your voice makes a difference. Delegate Irene Shin is my personal delegate, and my daughter and I actually spoke with her about an issue and ideas that we had last session, and she put in an amendment to try to get funding for that idea. Now, it ended up getting cut at some point in the process, but the fact that we had a conversation with her and then she put that line item in was really very exciting. So you can make a difference. Also, all the questions that we've collected this evening, we are intended to compile a lot of information and send it not just to our folks who are here tonight, but also to all of our invited guests as well. So we really do want to be passing along these concerns and getting the information out. Right, I think we really have to segue now. So here's what's going to happen. We are going to very briefly share about our advocacy